Siman Tov Reish Ayin Gimel. Shmonim Upsilos HaKsheres LeChanukah. Which oils and which wicks can be used on Chanukah? Kosher to use for the menorah. Sif Aleph. Kol HaShmonim VaPsilos Ksherim L'Ner Chanukah. ואף על פי שאין השמונים נמשכים אחר הפסילה, ואין האור ניסלה יופי באויסם הפסילס. All oils and wicks are kosher for Chanukah, even the ones which aren't drawn so well by the wick and don't burn so well. There's a halacha on Shabbos, right? We say Bama Madlikin on Friday night. Bama Madlikin is a list of all the oils and wicks which you can't use on Shabbos. Why can't you use them on Shabbos? Because we're worried that because they don't burn so well, we're worried that you'll adjust the wick. Shemo yate. Because you might adjust the wick to make them burn better.
And we're not afraid of that here because?
So we're not afraid of that on Chanukah. Why? Because, well, first of all, Chanukah is during the week. There's obviously no problem if you were to do that.
So you can adjust it after it's done.
If it's during the week. But the reason why it's also on Shabbos, even on Shabbos Chanukah there's no problem, is because you're not allowed to have hana'ah from the Chanukah. There's a big difference fundamental difference between the Shabbos lights and the Chanukah lights, which is that the Shabbos lights are there in order to benefit from them. The whole point of the Shabbos lights is in order to give you light, so you can see, so you can eat there, you can do. That's the whole point of the Shabbos lights, is to derive benefit from them for Oinig Shabbos. Whereas the Chanukah lights are the complete opposite. They're there to be fastened in the nays, and you're not allowed to have benefit from the Chanukah lights. Right? So if they're not burning well on Shabbos, you might adjust it so that it burns well, so you can have hana'ah. Whereas on Chanukah, because you're not allowed to use the lights, therefore there's we're not worried that you're going to adjust them, because you can't use them anyway. Okay? So therefore, as a result of that, even the oils and wicks that don't burn well, you can use on Chanukah.
If it doesn't burn well and it burns out, can you relight it?
We're going to talk about relighting in a minute. Okay? Okay. Let's carry on. Let's read we won't read the Mishnah on this. We'll carry on with the Ramah. Even though all oils and wicks are permitted, the most mehuda way of becoming the mitzvah namuvcha is by using olive oil. Shemen zayis, olive oil. If olive oil is not available, mitzvah bishmanim she'oiron zach v'noki. The best is to use an oil which which burns well. And the minhag, the minhag in his day where he lived, was they would use wax candles because they burnt well. Okay, so everything's kosher to use. The best is to use shemen zayis if you can. If not, then anything that burns well. And if you haven't got anything that burns well, then anything that burns. Right?
Is there a difference between she'oron zach and the word solo, or are they synonyms? Are they both like clear, that it burns clearly?
I think it means the same.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. And let's carry on and we'll see the Mishnah in a minute. Even on Shabbos Chanukah, you can use for the Chanukah lights the oils and wicks which you're not allowed to use for the Shabbos lights. Let's skip over them one, carry on with the Shulchan Aruch, because I'm going to give the reason now. Because you're not allowed to use the Ner Chanukah whether it's Shabbos or Chol. That's the reason I explained. Right? Because the Chanukah lights you're not allowed to use, therefore you can use even the oils and wicks that you're not allowed to use for the Shabbos lights. Because the Shabbos lights, we're worried you're going to adjust them in order they burn better so you can derive benefit. Whereas the Chanukah lights you're not allowed to derive benefit from, and therefore you're obviously not going to adjust them.
Okay. You can't adjust the Shabbos lights.
You're not allowed to. That's correct.
But there's a temptation.
Because if they don't burn well, you might come to adjust them, which you're not allowed to do, and be over an issa of mavir of burning, which is a deraisa. Because we're worried you're going to come to do that issa inadvertently. You're busy doing something and it's not giving enough light, and you'll adjust it and think, oh, it's Shabbos, I adjusted it by mistake. Because of that, in order to prevent that situation from occurring, we tell you in advance, only use oil and wicks that burn well. Right? Then you won't come to that situation where you might inadvertently adjust the light.
And you wouldn't adjust the Hanukkah lights because
you're not allowed to derive benefit from them. You're not allowed to do it.
Right.
Right? So you wouldn't come
you
to
wouldn't
that
be
situation.
tempted.
Right, exactly. Okay. ואפילו לבדוק מויז או למנויסון לאוירה אוסר אפילו תשמש הקדושה כגון ללמוד לאוירה אוסר. Okay, so so we said the reason why you're allowed to use any oil and wicks for the Chanukah lights is because you're not allowed to derive benefit from the Chanukah lights. Now he explains what are you not allowed to, what sort of benefits are. So he says, even if it's a mitzvah, like learning, even that you can't do by the light of the menorah.
Does the shamash?
We'll talk about the shamash in a minute. Yeah, good question. And some allow doing a tashmish like of kedusha, for example, learning a mitzvah. And the minhag is to light an extra light, which is the shamash, so that if one comes to use the lights, he'll be using the light of the extra light and won't be using the main lights of the menorah, which you're not allowed to derive benefit from. Who also should like acharon, the shamash is the one he lights at the end. And you should place it, distance it slightly from the other candles. Hagor says the Umar, in the country, in our countries, we don't add we don't light an extra light. What we do is we place next to the menorah, we place the shamash which we used to light the candles, that we place next to the menorah. This is better. This is better than lighting an extra light. One should make the shamash longer than the other candles. That if he comes to have benefit from the lights, comes to use the light of the candles, the candle which he'll be using is the shamash because it's taller than the other ones. Therefore, that's the light he'll be using. Okay, let's now go back and let's read let's go through the Mishnah. We saw now many halachas, a Sifin Shulchan Aruch which had many halachas one after the other. Let's now look at each one with an explanation from the Mishnah. Okay, we're going to start from the Mishnah, Sif Cotton Dalet. Okay, let's start from Dalet. Okay, the first halacha we saw is that you can use any oil, even wax, candles. However, shemen zayis, olive oil, is the mitzvah min hamuchos, the best way of being mekayem the mitzvah. The Mishnah Sif Cotton Dalet explains that even though you can use shayva, you can use wax. Mikol makom mitzvah b'shel shemen, tfei minor shel shayva, d'alidei hashemen na'asa hanes. It's better to use oil than to use wax candles because the nace was done through oil. Right? So preferably one should use olive oil. That's the best because it burns the best. If you can't use that, then use any oil because the mitzvah was done through oil. And if you haven't got oil, then you can use wax. Right? But oil is better than wax. Olive oil is the best than any oil and then wax. The opinion he brings in the Shaithin, he brings down the opinion of the Maral Miprag. The Maral Miprag holds that one can only use oil. One must only use oil. It's very interesting that he explains that ner, we have to light a ner. He explains that ner is a candle is not called a ner. It's the complete opposite of Ivrit. Right? In Ivrit, what's a ner? A candle. Right? He explains that in Lashon HaKodesh it's not that way. A ner in Lashon HaKodesh is a bowl with oil and a wick. That's called a ner. He holds that a candle is not a ner. He holds that if one lights a candle, one's not mekayem the mitzvah of lighting a ner Chanukah. That's the opinion of the Maral Miprag. We don't paskin that way. We hold that you can use candles if one doesn't have oil. However, the Mishnah does say that oil is preferable. Okay, So oil is preferable, but one can use wax in one that doesn't have oil. So if cotton hay, let's carry on with cotton hay. Vafilu b'nei Shabbos, b'leil Shabbos shebasoich v'chula. Rotza loymar. The Stahl kedatach the nechish b'zeh k'moi ba'alma b'nei shel Shabbos. Shem lo yitit gofa v'yata haner. L'hovi Hashem el fiat psila. Kamash malon the can ein lochish azeh. The ha'osu the shamish l'oira. This is what we explained already. That on Shabbos one can use the oils and wicks that don't burn well. One can use them for his Chanukah lights, because he's not allowed to derive benefit from the lights, and therefore he's not going to come inadvertently to adjust the light. That's the explanation we already gave.
Is the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah treating candles as a b'di'evid?
It's not a b'di'evid, no.
It's not a b'di'evid.
It's not a b'di'evid. That's correct. The Lashon of the Shulchan Aruch was it's not mitzvah min hamuvcha, right? There's a difference between b'di'evid, which is what one should only do if one's in a difficult situation, to something which is lechatchila. One can use it lechatchila, there's no problem with using it. However, there's still a better way of doing the mitzvah.
Got it.
Okay, so, right? Let's continue. Okay, most of the Mishnah words are just explaining, which is I explained when we learned the Shulchan Aruch. I explained the reasons. Let's go to let's look at Mishnah words of cotton ches. One second. Just before that, when I was reading the Shulchan Aruch, in order that the Shulchan Aruch flowed, I left out a line of the Gemara. I wanted the Shulchan Aruch should flow. Let's just read that line of the Gemara. It's on the third line. Hagoyim eino noisen b'ner rak kadei shir mitzvosen. He's just adding that on Shabbos, Chanukah, one's going to have a problem that after the half an hour of the lights burning, right, after half an hour, then it's not anymore the mitzvah. After that half an hour, one can derive benefit from the lights. Right? The mitzvah is only for half an hour, we said. After half an hour, one can derive benefit. So after that half an hour, then there's going to be the problem that you might come to use the candles, you might come to use the lights of the menorah, and you might come to adjust the wick inadvertently. Okay, so what we said, when we said that you may use on Shabbos Chanukah, you may use the oils and wicks that don't burn well, that's only if you put in just half an hour's worth of oil. But if you put more than that, if you put, let's say, an hour's worth of oil, then one may only use the oil and wicks that burn well. Because after the first half an hour, it's now permitted to use the lights, and now why are you going to use the lights and inadvertently come to adjust the wick? Okay, so on Shabbos Chanukah one may only use the lights and oils that don't burn well if one puts in just half an hour's worth of oil. If one puts in more than that, one may not. That's what the Ramah said. Okay, now let's see the...
But you have to put in more than half an hour.
Half an hour.
Because
yes.
In fact, here you'd have to put a whole hour.
That's correct. We're talking about the amount of oil you need up to today's plus an extra half an hour, which is the mitzvah. Yeah, you're correct, of course. Because we like early, one has to put in more oil. Yes. Let's have a look at now the Mishnah Berurah of cotton ches. Right? He's going to explain to us why are we not allowed to derive benefit from the lights of the Chanukah. Why is that the case? So he says in Mishnah Berurah of ches, "Kadei she'enikar shuhu ner mitzvah lefarasem haneis," so that it's recognizable that it's a ner mitzvah in order to publicize the neis. If one lights Chanukah lights and one sits there having benefit from the lights, reading by the light, then people won't realize that we're lighting it in order to publicize the neis. The person will think that he just lit it in order that he can read what he's read or count money, whatever he's doing. That's why one shouldn't have benefit. V'oid, another reason. Kim sha'alidei neis shenasa b'menorah tiknuha asa'uha k'menorah she'ein mishamshem b'klal. Seeing as is to remember the neis of the menorah and the Beis HaMikdash, that the menorah and Beis HaMikdash lasted for 8 days instead of just one. So therefore they made it similar to the menorah and the Beis HaMikdash. And the halacha is that the menorah and the Beis HaMikdash, one's not allowed to derive benefit from the light of the menorah. So too, to correspond to that halacha of the lights of the menorah and the Beis HaMikdash, so too the menorah we light, the Chanukiah we light. For Chanukah also we mustn't have benefit, just like the menorah and the Beis HaMikdash. There's two reasons why we don't have benefit from the light of the...
Is this the reason why we have a special thing called the Chanukiah? so that it's nicker, that it's specifically for the nace, and a regular light that we, like a candelabra. If you had a regular candelabra with a certain number of lights,
Right.
that you use during the year,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't be so nicker.
No, the reason why we said not to is what sort of the reason we said you should. The reason why I have a special menorah is we talked about the fact that the Ramos Dafka should light all the candles in a row.
Right.
Because if they're in a circle, then it could come. The flames couldn't join together.
Right.
So because of that, we need straight. I think that's
Right.
the reason why we have a special menorah. Because there's no reason one doesn't. There's no halacha that says one has to have a special CHANUKAH.
Just happens to
One
be-
can just put glasses with oil in next to each other. It's just as good. One doesn't have to have a CHANUKAH. Okay. Obviously, if it's a nice CHANUKAH, we'll get to it eventually. If there's a nice CHANUKAH, it's definitely hiddur mitzvah to have a special, nice CHANUKAH, especially if it's silver. Of course, that's hiddur mitzvah, but one doesn't need to. Again, if we're talking about lechatchila, well, what's lechatchila? There's no reason to have a CHANUKAH. We can just put glasses next to each other in a straight line, and that's fine. So that's not connected to this other. Okay. Fine. Okay. Let's have a look at okay. Let's turn the pages. Have a look now at the Mishvos of KarmiEl Dalet. So it's KarmiEl Dalet. V'noagin lahadlik ner noisaf pirish melevad haner shemanichin al hashulchan. This next extra light he lights, this shamish, is an addition. It's an addition to the light he puts on the table, right? In addition to the electric lights which you might have on, or a candle he might have a light he might have on the table. In addition to that, he puts on a shamish. The choishes in kim shemadikim b'fnim ulay yishtamshu b'nei shel CHANUKAH v'lav al tatayim. Aber meikra adin kim sheyesh lo ner al hashulchan in tzorch ladik ner noisaf. The minhag is to have this extra shamash, in addition to the light he has on the room, to have an extra shamash. Says the Mishabus of Kodem Tesavok, the next one, She mishtamish v'chula, v'ayim b'mogen Avraham, shelechatchila ein nishtamish eitzel kulon yachad, ki im lo'oyer hanoisaf, oil hashamash b'vad. If you have all the lights next to each other and the shamash next to them, preferably one shouldn't have hanoah from all the lights together, because they're very close together. One's actually having hanoah not just from the shamash, but also from the other candles as well. And unless the shamash is standing by itself, one shouldn't have hanoah from the neos Chanukah when they're all together next to the shamash. Okay, so therefore we do place the shamash right next to the candles. Therefore, preferably one should have a light on in the room, so that one's having the benefit from the light in the room. If the light, all the electric lights are off in the room, and one has hanoah, even though one has a shamash there, because the shamash is close to the other lights, one is really having hanoah from all the lights together.
If you're lighting outside, where it's really not a factor
Right.
of having hanoah from the light, because you're going to be inside while it's burning, most likely. Do you need a shamash at all?
One does, because you might come to have hanoah from lights even if they're outside. For example, I'll give you an example. After we light, everyone says Haneos Halolu. Maybe Haneos Halolu you're going to read from a siddur. Right. So there's also the chashash. Even though you may not be intending to have benefit from lights, there's always the problem that you might suddenly decide that you want to read Haneos Halolu. You might suddenly want to, don't know, someone might come past and ask you for something, and you look in your pocket. You might come to have benefit.
Right.
Because of that, one should always put a shamash there. Okay. Fine, let's move on to the next halacha. Let's move on now to Sif Beis. I'm just skipping out the rest of the one Sif Aleph, and let's move on to Sif Beis. Sif Beis in the Shulchan Aruch. Hadloka oisa mitzvah. There's a machokas in the Gemara if hadloka oisa mitzvah or hanocha oisa mitzvah. Hadloka oisa mitzvah means the mitzvah is the lighting. Hanocha oisa mitzvah means the mitzvah is placing the candle there. The nafkamina is if you light the menorah in a place where it's not the place where you can become the mitzvah, and then you carry it lit and place it in the place where you can, in the correct place, have you been becoming the mitzvah or not? we paskin hadlocha is a mitzvah, that the lighting is the mitzvah, not the placing, and therefore one is not mekayim the mitzvah in such a situation if one does that. If one lights it in a place where one can't be mekayim the mitzvah, right? Or at a time when one can't, and one places it at a time or place when one can, that's not good enough. He has to light it in the correct place. That's the halacha of hadlocha is a mitzvah.
So let's make the situation opposite. He lights it in the right place and then puts it up higher. So where he lit it, that's Oseh mitzvah,
right?
And then he moves it higher above 20 amas. Is that mevatel anyway, or is mekayim the mitzvah where he lit it? So you have to leave it there a certain amount of time.
I think let's talk about this when we talk about when the candle's going out. We'll talk about this. Okay, we're going to talk about what happens if the candles go out. Okay, I think it's a similar situation to that. Let's have a look. Let's read the Shulchan again. Hadlocha Oseh mitzvah. The mitzvah is the lighting, the fichot. Therefore. Okay, im kovso koidem she'avar zmano einoi zokuk lo. Okay, the first nafkamina is one I didn't mention, right, which is now connected to what you're asking, which is seeing as I lit it in the correct place. Okay, if it went out, if it went out before the half an hour, I lit it with enough oil to last half an hour, but it didn't last half an hour. It went out early. Okay. So seeing as I lit it correctly, the lighting was done correctly, therefore even if it went out afterwards, I'd be mekayim the mitzvah. Because the mitzvah is lighting in there which can last for half an hour. If it went out, that's not a problem. Doesn't that mean that the candles have to be there for half an hour? They have to be lit in the correct way, in the correct place, in the correct way. So therefore, even if they went out, you don't have to relight it. And therefore, to answer your question, it's the same thing. Even if I moved it after the half an hour to a place where I'm not mekayim the mitzvah, I've still been mekayim the mitzvah, because the main thing is when I lit it in the correct place with enough oil to last. It could have lasted for the correct amount of time. Okay?
Sorry, does it raise the question then, if you have in your home, instead of lighting for your home, if the mitzvah is lighting, if you have a son who's over the age of bar mitzvah, doesn't he have to light his own menorah? Because he doesn't have the benefit of your lighting.
So that we said that when you light, the halacha is no issue. So the halacha is that there's one candle for each household, and when one person in the house lights, that covers everyone else in the house. Okay, this covers everyone in the house. They don't even have to be there. I don't mean literally mean in the house. The people, even someone who's not there, right? If the wife is at the house, the father lights, the wife is covered. If the father's on a business trip and he's coming home and he hasn't yet made it back, he's not going to make it back in time, and the wife lights, it covers the husband. The halacha is one light per house. We mentioned that the mitzvah of the mahadrin is that all men over bar mitzvah also light. That's the halacha of mahadrin, that everyone in the house lights, which is something that is only the Ashkenazim do, not the Sfardim. Ashkenazim, everyone in the house lights. But me'ikar adin, when one person of the household lights, it counts everyone of that in that household, even if they're not there.
The reason I don't mean to belabor the point, but the reason I'm asking this question is that if the mitzvah is seeing the lights of the house, right, that makes sense, that there's one menorah per home, right? But if the mitzvah is actually lighting the menorah, then it seems to me if somebody is already the age of mitzvot, that he has a requirement. It seems to be in conflict with the idea that because it's the mitzvah of lighting, not seeing the candles. It seems to me there's a conflict there.
No, the mitzvah is lighting, because the mitzvah is not that every individual lights. The mitzvah is that one person in each household lights. That's the mitzvah. The mitzvah is that one person in each household lights the menorah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So va'afilu kovso be'erev Shabbos kodim kabbalah Shabbos. Even if when you lit it on erev Shabbos early, you light it before it even gets dark, and it went out even before kabbalah Shabbos. It hasn't even been lit for 1 second at the time of night time, right? Of that half an hour slot when it has to be a light. It went out before Shabbos, before that half an hour slot. Even then you don't have to relight it. It's even though it's still daytime, he doesn't have to relight it. Even after he lit it, he wanted to adjust it slightly because it wasn't burning well. And by mistake he put it out. He doesn't have to relight it. Hagor says there were more. If he does want to be machmir and relight it, He can, it's fine, will be faster than the nays, but he doesn't make a bracha on relighting it. Okay? Let's see the Mishnah of Cotton Chofei. Hadlaka is a mitzvah v'chula. Rotza loima. Kivin shehidlik techef kiem ha-mitzvah. Since as soon as he lights it, he's in the kind of mitzvah. Lefichoch im kovso ein zochuk lo. Therefore, if it went out, he doesn't have to relight it. V'im hidliko b'mokum ha-ruach v'kovso. If he lit it in a place where it's windy and it went out, zochuk lo lachzor hidliko b'mokum she'ein ruach motzo. He has to relight it to the place where there's no wind. If he lights it to the place where the wind blows it out, that's not good enough. Why not? Because the original lighting is considered not good enough, because he's lit it in a place where it's not going to be able to last for half an hour. It's like lighting it without enough oil. It can't last for half an hour. That's not good enough. It has to be that the lighting is done in circumstances where it should last for half an hour. Okay? If it was done in a way that it won't last for half an hour, then the lighting itself is not good enough, and he has to relight it. He shouldn't make a bracha. Why shouldn't he make a bracha? Because it could be that it wasn't 100% sure it would go out. It could be that maybe the wind was slightly stronger than usual, and that's why it blew out. In the regular wind, it wouldn't have blown out, and therefore one shouldn't make a bracha. If he sees that he didn't light it well, perhaps the wick was too short and the flame didn't catch the wick well, and you can see it's definitely going to go out, then it's posher she'ein yotze b'lokazu. He definitely isn't yotze through this lighting. And then he definitely has to relight it after it goes out. Okay, if he sees that he didn't lit it well, if he didn't light it well, then he has to relight. He has to put it out and relight it properly. Okay. Let's jump one halacha to Sivkot Nechaf Zayin. Says the Mishnah of Sivkot Nechaf Zayin. V'ha'achronim kosv v'doro'oi lahachmir lachzod ladiko. The Achronim say it's the correct thing to do is to relight the candle after it goes out, b'chol inyan, even if one doesn't have to. However, one should be machmir if one can to relight it. All the more so if this happened on Erev Shabbos, before Kabbalah Shabbos, before it's even Shabbos. If he accepted Shabbos on himself early and there's still time before Shabbos and tonight, he can ask his friend to light it, right? If it's still before Shkia.
To relight it.
To relight it, yes. Okay, that's not son again nowadays. Let's try and just finish the simon. Let's read Sif Gimel and Sif Dalet. Quickly, Sif Gimel, Ner shel cheres shidlik b'lo laylo achas nase yoshon, vein madikim b'lo laylo acheres, elo lekach hadoshim b'chol layla. This is an earthenware nail. We don't have this problem nowadays. After lighting by once, it's called mort. It's not pleasant anymore, and one shouldn't reuse it. If he only has an old one, he can use it each night. He has to put it again in the oven to mold it again. And all the candles, all the ones we have nowadays are fine. One doesn't have to switch the wicks. We just had Rav Akam say this halacha. One doesn't have to switch the wicks. One can use the same wicks the whole way through Chanukah. Says the Mishnah Berurah Kodem Lamed Aleph.
Just refill the oil. Just refill the oil.
Just refill the oil, of course.
In the cup.
Yes.
Leave the wick there, refill the oil.
Yes.
As long as there's still enough wick left.
Yes. Let's read the Mishnah Berurah Kodem Chofches first of all. Mishnah Berurah Kodem Chofches. Kosva Hasforim. Shetoiv kol echad she'asriach la'asos le'menor yofel if he koichoi. Even though we said that you can use anything, except that only cheres is a problem, that it's mo'os. But of course, one should try and use as nice a menorah as possible, because it's a hidul mitzvah. Right? The nicer the menorah, and the better he's becoming the mitzvah. Now let's have a look at Mishvus of Cotton Lamed Aleph. Asher Techla Shein Behem Bezoin Mitzvah Adar Behem Nochen Had Yosek Shemalik Mudlokin Kvar. If a wick which has already been lit once actually relights quicker than a new wick, so it's actually better to use a wick that's already been lit, because they relight quicker. Right? It's already absorbed the oil. It's already it will relight better. Okay. Continue tomorrow. Tomorrow will be our last Shiva for Chanukah.